What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Bring the Noise here on Bleacher Report. I'm Danny Kleppinger, joined by fellow degenerate himself, Brad Evans. We used to do this, something similar to this show before in our careers, and now we get to bring it back to you this year around. We are giving your boom, bust, or bank picks game by game as we lead in to every single game on this NFL slate here today. Brad, it's football season. I know you're feeling good.
Still feeling good because what did the will do yesterday? They absolutely beat down the Duke Blue Devils. So I'm already on like cloud 11, not even cloud 9. I'm feeling ultra high, and hopefully my fantasy outputs in the virtual box score are going to match the enthusiasm today. But we already got some breaking news.
I know, breaking news just to start. Chris Rodriguez, a healthy scratch. What do you make of that?
That's wild. It's bananas. I did not remotely see that coming. Why? Because I'm a heavily invested Chris Rodriguez guy. Picked him off waivers in a number of leagues. Had some early drafts. Honestly thought he was going to get around 8 to 10 carries in the opener. Yeah, it was always going to be a full-blown running back by committee in the nation's capital. But, Austin Eckler, technically right now the RB1. And, of course, everybody and their great-grandmother, JCM this, JCM that, Bill. People loving Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Really extended the go gadget arm to acquire his services in a multitude of drafts. I'd still pump the brakes. Jeremy McNichols is also active. So it's going to be a full-blown three-back backfield, and it's anyone's best guess who's going to get the most touches. Me handicapping it, I say Austin Eckler, and we'll dive in a little bit more into that game. And maybe, just maybe, I'm going to pivot to an Eckler market as well.
Interesting to pay attention to. Yeah, there's a couple of games on the slate today that teams are using running back by committees, and it's week 1, so it's a little bit difficult to be able to understand just how much usage each one will get. Looking at you, Jets. We'll get there in a little bit. Remember, type in all of your questions that you have for us leading into kickoff. We've already got a few going here, Brad, so let's just dive right into it before we get into every game. Let's start with Ricky Morse's question. He wants to know if you should start McCaffrey or sit him for week 1. He does seem to be playing, but what do you think is going to happen?
Have some huevos, my man. Of course, you're going to be playing the CMC Football Factory. You played him in, picked him in round 1, more likely, of your fantasy football draft. Actually, I'm going to feature a wager on him a little bit later on the show. He said he's going to be all systems go. And I know you had the horrible nightmares of last year, bilateral Achilles tendonitis, but Seattle is going to be a subpar and suspect defense. I think they're going to really lean heavily on CMC early and often. I'm going to say a minimum, DK, a minimum 80 combined yards. I think he finds pay dirt as well. Start McCaffrey. Quit freaking out. Everything's going to be just fine.
I don't know. I would also give a little love to Robinson, but we'll get there in just a little bit, just in case McCaffrey can't be explosive. Not that I'm disagreeing with you, Brad, but gosh, didn't we all think he was going to go full steam ahead at the start of last season? And we saw what happened. So another one before we get into these games, let's get into Brody Sable, JCM or Breece Hall. Who would you start?
Not JCM. Again, anyone's best guess what kind of workload he's going to get. Now, am I high on Breece Hall today? Hell no, I'm not. Not against that Steelers formidable front line, which Pro Football Focus ranked as number 1 on the defensive line entering the NFL regular season. Think of TJ Watt. But I think Hall could do some damage as a receiver. Remember, in one of the matchups last season between these two teams, he had over 100 receiving yards. Yeah, I'm on the under on rush yards. But again, he could really make up for those missed opportunities on the ground via the air. So start Breece Hall with confidence and wait and see on Bill.
Ooh, boom, buster, bank. Remember, that's what we're giving you throughout this entire slate of games. Let's dive into the first game. We'll continue to take your questions as we go here, but we got to talk Bucs and Falcons. Falcons are entering week 1 as home underdogs against the Bucs. Just slight underdogs there, but Brad, you've got an eye on a rookie.
Yeah, I do, honestly, in that game. I got an eye on a number of plays in that contest. Number 1, first and foremost, one I love more than anything else is Emeka Buka. I'm going to take the over on everything tied to him in terms of receiving yards, receptions. I'm starting him with supreme confidence in my 12-team fantasy league at a wide receiver 3 position. A guy that Baker Mayfield, Baker, the touchdown maker, really talked up on the Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce podcast in late July. And I think that's going to carry over to the regular season. He can run every round the tree. He can line up in the slot. He can line up outside. He didn't play at Bethune-Cookman. He played at the Ohio State. And what did they do last year? Oh, that's right. They won a freaking title. So Emeka Buka is somebody you got to put in your lineup. And I also love Michael Penix. Bet the over on his pass yards prop. More for the Superflex crowd and fantasy. But I think Emeka Buka and Penix are going to show up and show out. Why? Because points are going to be plentiful, much like they were last year. And these two matchups between intra-divisional foes.
Yeah, I like your call on Agbuka because this is an offense that had 4 different pass catchers to record at least 50 receptions last season. So I like that play a lot. I like your little note there on Penix Jr. as well because of the 3 games that he started. Bijan Robinson averaged 6.7 receiving yards per games in those 3 games, but he was still getting 4 targets. So people may be sleeping on Bijan Robinson in the receiving game today. I actually think he's going to do his total yardage is going to be outstanding. So I like his over on his receiving yards prop, but I obviously am a little biased. I got to bake that in there, guys. That is my running back on my team. So I feel like I got to be upfront and honest in this one. Hopefully he's going to be obviously a high volume player. He's going to dominate those carries for Atlanta, but also 4th on the team last season in targets. So hopefully those receiving numbers are up there as well. He averaged 25.4 receiving yards per game last season. So I'm also liking Bijan Robinson in the passing attack as well. Let's get into Bengals Browns. Bengals are favored by 4.5. Chase Brown, you like him, Brad? How much?
Oh, I'm getting down. Chase Brown, chug, 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 all the maple syrup. Why? Because he is the pride of Canada. And I think he's the guy who's going to really ball out today. I know the Cleveland Browns, enter the regular season, maybe a top 10 overall defensive line, thanks to the efforts of one Myles Garrett. But you look at Chase Brown last time he faced the Brownies there in that intra-state rivalry showdown. He went for 91 yards on 18 carries. They have completely revamped, rebuilt the entire ground scheme around the former standouts. You likely had to pay around 2 price in your fantasy league to get them. So obviously must start material. That goes without saying, but a guy that I'm firmly investing in the alt market in rush yards, 70 or more. I grabbed a plus money earlier this week. I played up maybe as high as 100 or more rush yards. I think it's going to be at least 100 combined and a score. Again, get down with my guy, Chase Brown.
Guys, there's literally no bias baked into anything Brad ever says. If there's anything Illinois related, wait for the Bears game a bit later on. But Jake Lyons has an interesting question here, Igbuka or T. Higgins? And I'll let you answer that in just a moment. But I do want to point out that I think T. Higgins has a big game. I think he scores a touchdown. He had touchdowns in 4 of 8 career games against the Cleveland Browns. And when he was healthy, Cincinnati was so much better, averaging nearly 29 points per game and 280 passing yards. When he wasn't out there, they lost 4 or 5 games. The points significantly went down, passing yards as well. The Bengals are just so much better when T. Higgins is out there on the field. So, Brad, if you had to make the decision between the two, what do you think is going to happen?
Who's got the most touchdown appeal of the two? And I think you hit it right on the head with that nail. And I think it's T. Higgins. Look, Joe Burrow. Here's what's crazy, DK. If you like the player props market, the over-under on passing touchdowns for Burrow is at 2.5, and it's juiced way to the under. It's like plus 155 on the over. I think he has a hat trick of airstrikes. I think one of those is going to go to T. Higgins. So I love him at Kabuka. I think it's honestly almost a coin flip, having nearly back-to-back in my ranks. Yeah, but give me T. Higgins. He should tee off in the box score today.
What about this Dolphins-Colts game? Colts are favored just by a point. They did play last year, so obviously we got to see a little bit of what that matchup would look like, but Tua Tagovailoa was out in that one, so you're not getting too much of a sample size of exactly what that would look like. The Colts won that one. It was a super shaky performance, but obviously his presence out there is going to help Miami's offense substantially, but Indianapolis, good D-line. They added a few notable names in the secondary as well. Who's your boom, bust, or bank pick here for this one?
Say to the bank with a guy that everybody is going to be starting in their fantasy league, and it's the Clydesdale of the Circle City who is going to giddy up, baby. Jonathan Taylor, give it the over on 17.5 rush attempts. It opened at 18.5. This is a gift from the Gambling Gods. Has come down a tick. That's why I like the over. It's a little juiced on that over at BetMGM at minus 125. But I think ultimately he's going to cash in, and obviously going to cash in for the fantasy masses as well, whether playing in season long or DFS. He was numero uno last year in opportunity share, getting 88.4% that category, averaged 21.5 totes per game. He went over this number in 10 of 14 contests. And I know Miami's got arguably a top half defensive line, but I think this team is really going to take it on the chops. I got Indianapolis in my survivor pick league this week, believe it or not. You talk about rolling the dice.
Yeah, why?
But I like Taylor to get the work done and really sold away the clock late. So give me the over on rush attempts. I think he exceeds 100 yards on the ground with a tutty as well.
A moment ago, I did see a question pop up here somewhere. I lost it at the moment, but Waddle or Evans? What do you think, Brad, between the two of them?
Who is my cousin? It's Mike Evans. I'm going to play Mike Evans. Again, I had a couple of monster contests against
unbelievable.
Yeah, the over-under in that game, I think it's like 47.5. I'd be way over on it. Again, it was a pair of shootouts last year between these two squads. You have no McMillan. You have no Godwin. Mecca Buka, as talented as he is, and as much as we like him, is still a rookie. Who is the main man who is a king of consistency for like 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns every year? It's Mike Evans. Play him.
I also like Josh Downs in this game, though. I feel like he's kind of breaking out as the potential go-to receiver. Obviously, you've got Michael Pittman Jr., who obviously is, I think, honestly, is quite underrated as one of the best pass catchers. But Daniel Jones, obviously, earning the start here for the Colts. Pittman and Downs are both good in that short and intermediate parts of the field. And I just think that Jones earned his money in that area in New York. So now you kind of got to give a nod at least to what Josh Downs can bring there. The Dolphins secondary is obviously the weakest part of that defense. And I think they could potentially struggle all season long. So why not take advantage of Josh Downs if you have him for some sort of reason or not? I do have a little bit of an eye on him in that game as well. Brad, we got a question here from Z. Dobbins, Charbonnet, or Ibuka? What do you think in a standard league?
We don't know the scoring format, so that could be influential. If it's a standard or half point PPR, I'm going to go with J.K. Dobbins. A standard. Well, there you go. Then touchdowns are worth everything. Automatic, J.K. Dobbins. And yes, I put my money where my mouth is. I bet on him in the anytime touchdown market at plus 145 at BetMGM.
Keep these questions rolling in here because we want to continue to get you all your start, sit advice here leading into kickoff. So exciting. It's about 45 minutes away here. So looking at these questions, Wood 8412 wants to know Bryce Young or Bo Nix?
Bo Nix. Look, I like Bryce Young quite a bit as well in this matchup. I wrote him as a fantasy football flame this week on my website, thegamingjuice.com. Again, a lot of pew, shootout appeal and the free line fracas there between Jacksonville and the Carolina Panthers. But Bo Nix, he is a top 10 L word, G word, easy money kind of phrase. I think they're going to just have their way with the Tennessee Titans today. So Bo Nix all diggity day long.
You know, I've got a Bo Nix play a little bit later on as well as we continue to break down that game here on the slate. We've only gone through a few so far, but Ches has a very interesting question on somebody that I feel as though a lot of people have question marks running into today. What is Travis Hunter going to bring to the conversation? So he says Travis Hunter or Flowers. Who do you have more faith in?
I'm going to chase the upside with Travis Hunter. Again, we got that big bombshell that dropped late last night from Adam Schefter that he is primarily going to play wide receiver, which nobody saw coming, DK. They're like, oh, how is he going to go out there and play both ends in the NFL? Look, he's a situational quarterback. That was always the expectation. Hunter's going to start out of the slot. He's going to be a dirty worker in the short to intermediate field, rack the targets, the receptions, and with his explosivity after the catch, I love the upside in a game, again, that I feel is going to really exceed people's expectations and just boom in the box score. So give me Travis Hunter, the reigning Heisman winner.
We'll get there in a little bit to continue to dive into that one. But let's get to Raiders Patriots. The Patriots are favored by 2.5. And a player that no one's asked about yet. Hello, why are we sleeping on Drake May? I feel like he's a huge sleeper this season, Brad.
Yeah, he is. And a guy that I thought was generally undervalued, as you mentioned, in fantasy football leagues, going around quarterback 15 and a lot of 12-team exercises, single quarterback formats, not the super flex variety, but a player that it didn't make a whole lot of waves in some of the advanced metrics a season ago, but he was still quarterback 16 in red zone completion percentage. You bring in Stephon Diggs, who's looked great coming off the ACL injury. You bring in a guy with a lot of juice in drafting Travion Henderson out of the Ohio State. So I love the over on 219.5 pass yards in this opener. Viva Las Vegas could be bankrupt on the back end defensively this year. Pro Football Focus ranks them dead last among all the secondaries entering the regular season. I think they're going to be pushovers in that category. They'll put points to the board as well. This game has also sneaky shootout appeal. Drake May over 219.5 pass yards is my boom/bank play. And by the way, Travion Henderson, pump the brakes, folks. I'm thinking like 40, 50 combined yards, and he's going to be lucky to find the end zone.
Oh, that's super interesting. But yeah, I like what you're saying there with Drake May. Stephon Diggs surely going to make some plays down the field. He's got a better group of receivers than he did as a rookie. But with that offensive line still a work in progress and Max Crosby lining up against them, I do think that Drake May is going to be scrambling a little bit, which actually could help you in a rush yards prop. If you right now it's at 28.5 rush yards. I actually think he could go over that as well. He had the 9th most rushing yards among quarterbacks last season, even though he only started 12 games. And actually, if you dial that back, because remember, one of those games, he was in there for just like a couple snaps. So let's take 11 of those games. He rushed for 29 yards 6 times. 29 is over 28.5 the last time that I noticed. So I think you're going to get it in the pass attack. You're going to get it on the ground as well. So yeah, we're very high on Drake May here today. It seems like you and I both on the same page, which doesn't always happen if you guys know us well. But Get Offline says May or Goff.
I'm going to go Drake May. Again, what the appeal here is what you just mentioned, the rushing upside, right? That scoring duality raises the floor for him. And honestly, the ceiling, I think, is a little bit better as well overall. I mean, Jared Goff, what are you going to get against Green Bay? Probably like 260 to 275 passing yards, 1 to 2 touchdowns. But the downside with Jared Goff is how efficient the Lions are inside the red zone. And when you have Jahmyr Gibbs and who's that other guy? Oh, that's right. Mandatory Montgomery, you jackals. It does limit the upside overall of Goff. So give me Drake May.
Oh man, mandatory Montgomery. It's been a bit, Brad, since I've heard you scream that top of your lungs. Everybody, that's going to be a theme throughout this entire season long. Let's take a look at Biagio, Debo, or Jaylen Warren for the last flex spot. What's your advice there?
Yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant about Debo. He'll probably get a couple of handoffs in the ground game, so that raises his potential overall. But what kind of contributions is he going to have in the pass game? I like Warren. Warren's kind of a jack of all trades. Caleb Johnson very much on the outside looking in. He's listed RB3 on the depth chart. He'll be lucky to probably get 5 touches today. I think Jaylen Warren is going to be the main man for A-Rod, Aaron Rodgers and company. So give me him against slight advantage over Debo.
In this Cardinals Saints game, it's kind of interesting. Arizona actually hasn't beaten New Orleans in almost 30 years, but they are a pretty hefty favorite here at 6.5. And their last meeting, granted, of course, was in 2022, but the Saints obviously look a lot different. The Cardinals have a lot more experience now and some intriguing weapons on both sides of the ball. They're very comfortable favorite in this one, but you're looking at the Saints side of things. Lights, Kamara action?
Oh, yeah, I see what you did there. We're going to fly the fleur-de-lis, baby. Yeah, I'm going to do a little SGP on him, a boom/bank selection. Give me Alvin Kamara 4+ catches. Let's correlate, synergize, and bring it all together. I also have him for 25+ receiving yards. Now, we don't cheap plus money. It's -125 when I built that. But Kamara's a guy in shallow leagues I'm getting a lot of questions about already this morning. I would start him with the utmost confidence. He's going to be a busy man, I think, working in the short to intermediate field as a pass catcher. Maybe a little bit touch and go on the ground. I think the Arizona front line is a bit underrated. But you got Spencer Rattler at the controls. And last year with Rattler, Kamara averaged 5.3 receptions per game, 34.3 receiving yards per game. So again, like 60 to 80 combined yards, very good chance at a touchdown touchdown, 5-6 receptions, all entirely doable for Alvin Kamara.
Alex Rod 80 says Murray or Mayfield. And I do want to give a little shout out to Kyler Murray because he is my boomer bank pick in this game. Just because he's cashed the over in passing yards in 6 of his last 7 games of last season. The Saints are bad, that defense. And I don't think one offseason should make you optimistic on where the Saints are defensively. They allowed the 6th most passing yards to quarterback last season, 8th most rushing yards to the position. And we're talking about a quarterback that's a dual threat skill set. So I think that he could have over 2 touchdowns. I like his over on his passing yards. I think he's going to be running all over the field as well. I don't think that Kellen Moore and Brandon Staley can fix the problems that quickly that New Orleans had on defense last season. Do you think I'm off there? Do you like a Kyler Murray start better or not?
Yeah, the only reluctance that I have is the fact the report came out a few minutes ago that he has an illness. So we don't know what he's really fighting and battling through. Is it going to be at all a drag and limitation on his game today? We shall see. But I love the dachshund of the desert, a guy that's built low to the ground that can scurry those little legs in the open field. I think the Saints are going to be, bar none, the worst team in the NFL this year. They have some talent on defense, but Murray just beats you in myriad ways. So, yeah, I think it's a great call.
Let's get to Jets Steelers because Steelers are laying a field goal here. Obviously, this is a fun one because both starting quarterbacks are facing their old teams. The Jets. Is it a shiny new quarterback there in Justin Fields, Brad? I know your Chicago bias might baked into that thought process.
Yeah, look, I think there's going to be better games on the horizon for Justin Fields. Today's not going to be one of them. I got him as a middling quarterback option. I think I got him ranked like quarterback 16 on the gamingjuice.com. More of a super flex option than somebody you want to really debate in a single QB league, unless you're one of those sickos like me that plays in 16, 18, or 20 teamer. Again, a guy that can really raise the floor with the ground opportunities. Those are going to be frequent against an aggressive and assertive rush defense of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But yeah, I'd pump the brakes on what he can do vertically. That will be a mitigation, to say the least, in this affair, which might be a field goal kicking contest.
Yeah, this one's going to be super interesting. And it's one of those situations we talked about earlier. There's so many weapons right now for Fields. You've got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Mason Taylor. Honestly, I would bust Braylon Allen just for today, just to not personally, I would just put him on your bench, stash him. Just to see what happens here in week 1, because what does the running back by committee thing look like? Or is that 15 carries for Hall, half that for Allen? And then obviously you got Isaiah Davis in the mix there as well. Are they going to split it straight down the middle? You already said you don't think that's what's going to happen. So if you've got Braylon Allen, that's going to be my bust in this game. Just bench him. It could be a nice play at some point, but until you really see how that's all going to work, not something that I would give advice to in putting him in your lineup this week.
Yeah, I think it's a great call. Again, better days are on the horizon for him. He is going to be a supreme buy low fantasy option after this week if he indeed busts and lives down to the level of expectations. I'm also going to live in the land down under on his tag team partner and Breece Hall. I took the under on 45.5 rush yards. Could do some damage in the pass game, so that really helps him out in PPR formats. I don't think he's going to find the end zone, not against arguably the best defensive line in the NFL. And let's call a spade. Hall was just so bland, vanilla May last year in a lot of advanced analytics. Only 21 in missed tackles, forced 24 in yak per attempt. The rumblings we've been hearing about Braylon Allen are warranted because Breece Hall just isn't really peak efficient. So I think you're going to see that today. But again, a guy that has more value in PPR formats than those of you that play in standard leagues.
Well, let's talk about a flex position here for DTom78. He wants to know, should he be playing Breece Hall or Golden?
Oh, baby. Well, you have me at Golden. I like shiny new toys, and I like the Bouillon, to say the least. And look, Matthew Golden, described by Jordan Love a couple of weeks ago as a, quote, stud. That was Jordan Love's words, not mine. So if he's throwing out that phrase to the young rookie, who's really the only healthy guy they have, him and Romeo Dobbs and Tucker Kraft, Ontavian Wicks is battling calf injury. Of course, we know Jaden Reed's got that Jones fracture, extremely painful, that he's going to try to play through. Golden's got elite speed, ran a 4.29 40-yard dash, for love of God. and a guy too that has the skills and the branches on the route tree, inside, outside. I think he is going to make a cannonball splash in his debut. Yes, I've not been drinking tequila since 6 a.m., folks. I'm taking Matthew Golden over Brees Hall here in week 1.
I don't know about that, guys. Brad definitely pours tequila in with his Wheaties every single morning, so don't trust that thought process. But one guy that we didn't talk about in this, I want to circle back to this game here between the Jets and the Steelers. Just quickly, Pat Freiermuth, I actually think he's going to get a touchdown, and it's at plus 460. So if anybody would like to jump into the gambling gods there and get into the end zone, what does Aaron Rodgers love? Oh, a tight end. Hello. He hauled in 7 touchdowns last season. So I just want to give a little love there because I do think that that's quite a juicy pick. And around here, we love plus money. So let's get into Giants and Commanders. Commanders favored by 6 in this NFC East tilt. We obviously got that news about Chris Rodriguez. Now what, Brad?
Yeah, I got to pivot. I'm going to go with Austin Eckler, and I can't believe this number hasn't moved. 2.5 receptions. Obviously, I'm going to take the over. And you know what? We're going to call for my friend.
Oh,
Daddy gotta go, DK. Austin Eckler's got a lot of flexi sexy appeal, especially for those of you in the PPR leagues that score handsomely in that category. I think it's gonna be a 4 or 5 catch game. I think he's gonna exceed 25 receiving yards. He'll be able to raise the floor a little bit, probably 25-30 rushing. Got a good chance of maybe punching one in when in red zone situations inside the 5, though you always worry about the goal line gremlin. That is Jaden Daniels. But Austin Eckler, again, flex appeal. That is the key here. So if you got him in the 11th hour of your fantasy draft, you're in a 12-teamer, got multiple flexes, go ahead and plug him in with supreme confidence.
We got a question coming here. Two cool beans, Andrews or Ingram at tight end. And since he's asking about tight end, I'm going to look at the tight end here in this one on Theo Johnson, because I do think he's going to go over his receiving mark at 22.5. The Commanders were very soft against tight ends last season, averaged almost 8 yards per target to the position. So the fact that he's caught 6 targets, 51 yards, and a score against them last year gives me a lot of confidence in him this year as well. But Brad, the specific question is about Andrews or Ingram at tight end.
Yeah, look, I think Ingram is going to have more catches. Probably going to have more yards, but Andrews is going to find the end zone. So it really depends upon your scoring format. If it's a full point PPR, I mean, there's some insane in the membrane, insane in the brain leagues out there that score like 2 points per reception, and they give like a tight end premium for you Scott Fish fans. I might lean Ingram in those scenarios, but 9 times out of 10, give me Mark Andrews. I think he got the hands transplant needed in the offseason, and he's going to start off the season with a bang and a game with the highest total in Vegas today at 50.5.
Since I'm steering the ship here, let's pretend this question came from me at Danny Klupp. She wants to know, does she need to be worried about Malik Neighbors? The fact that he's been nursing injuries all through camp, missed Friday's practice with back tightness. He's their number 1 wide receiver, and he's my number 1 wide receiver at the moment as well.
Yeah, no reason to freak out, DK, or the alter ego of Danny Kluppinger.
Yeah.
Look, I think Malik Neighbors, somebody got to trot out there. You spend high draft capital, acquire his services. Russell Wilson throws a beautiful deep ball. That is still a strength of the Danger Witch. And Neighbors could be like as George Pickens was in Pittsburgh last year, a guy who can bend and contort, make those necessary adjustments down the field, and secure the chunk gain. So, yeah, man, don't worry about Neighbors. He's going to be A-okay. By the way, DK, we just got some breaking news. Ian Rappaport reporting Texans running back Rub-a-Dub-Dub. The Chubb Club is officially open for business, baby.
Wow.
He's expected to be the bell cow. Rapp's words, not mine. The bell cow. Bottle service behind the velvet rope. Let's go.
No kidding. Wow. So you're all about that. That news was something you were waiting to have stroll in.
Yes.
Love that.
Yeah, because I'm going to feature a bet on him a little bit later on. It's just solidifies my point of view.
Well, now we're 30 minutes away from kickoff. Want to remind everybody, send in your questions. There's a lot rolling in here, Brad, so I want to get to a bunch of these really quickly before we keep rolling on these games. C. Freitas, Chuba, or Connor?
I'm going to go James Conner. He finds the end zone. Next.
I know him. DK or Ridley?
Oh, God. I hate both these matchups. The Riddler's going up against the best cover corner league in Sertan. I guess DK, but I don't feel great about it.
Since I do believe, did we already answer? No, we didn't. Alex Rod 80. You got another question in here, another tight end question. Strange or Warren?
When you're strange, no, I'm not going to go with him. I think Tyler Warren, a
Okay.
minimum of roughly 999 targets. I think pretty much every game.
Chris T wants to know about the PPR leagues. He wants to know, consider starting Diggs over Ridley or Wilson, just considering the matchups here today.
I still go Garrett Wilson,
Okay.
but the Team Huevos member in me says, yeah, kind of clack and roll the dice on Diggs.
All right. All right. Well, Team Huevos. Gosh, if you guys don't know that, that's his Twitter handle, his Instagram handle. The guy's throwing Huevos around all the time.
A lot
Let's
of
get
them.
into Panthers
Yeah.
Jaguars because I actually think this is one of the toughest lines to pick this week. I don't know why. It's like Carolina seems like they're heading in the right direction. Jacksonville's obviously can go only one direction from 2024, and that's up. Hopefully, these teams I feel like seem pretty even. I'm booming Trevor Lawrence though in this one. I think he's
Yep.
one of those fringe starters who gets elevated just because of this particular matchup. The Panthers have added a lot of defense in free agency and the draft, but I think it's going to be really hard for them to contain Jacksonville's weapons. They've got Brian Thomas Jr., De'Ami Brown, Travis Hunter, which you just talked about, thinking having a big a game as well. Carolina allowed an average of 31 points per game and gave up the most passing touchdowns last season, 35 of them. So I just think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a really big game. Not always going to be my favorite play, but matchup related, I kind of like him here.
I do too, especially in that Liam Cohen offense, right? Look at all the wondrous things that he did last season for rejuvenating the Baker Mayfield career arc. So I think Trevor Lawrence is going to start off with a bang, with authority, really kind of bringing the noise. I think it's a great call there. I'm going to say on the same sideline, and I'm going to roll with the war machine of Jacksonville and fire off with Tank Bigsby as my boom slash bank at 50 plus rush yards. I think he finds the end zone as well. Bet on that. Always free, always transparent spreadsheet. You can always see my bets there at thegamingjuice.com. It's plus 145, the anytime touchdown market. 50 or more rush yards, still plus money at plus 115. A lot of flex appeal, only being started in like 6% of Yahoo leagues entering the day. That is a crazy sauce talk to me. Why? Because Carolina historically bad against the run last year. They were dead last on rush EPA defense. They're projected to be one of the worst defensive lines again this year, number 28 according to Pro Football Focus. And Bigsby was highly efficient, number 3 in yak per attempt last year, number 11 in missed tackles forced, and only had 168 rush attempts. I know ETN's going to be there, but I think it's going to be at least 50% of the opportunity share to Bigsby, and I think he's going to find the end zone. So that is my play in the feline fracas.
Let's get Shawn Michaels' question up here where he says Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy as we talk about Titans Broncos here, because obviously the number one overall pick going to start his first NFL game against one of the stingiest defenses in the NFL and the Denver Broncos. How is the Tennessee Titans rookie quarterback going to look? This specific question wants to know if you would start Bo Nix over JJ McCarthy. I'm super high on Bo Nix in this game, and it sounds like based off of what you said earlier, you are too.
Yeah, this is a old school slam dunk, Dominique Wilkins style windmill, folks. Yeah, it's dating me a little bit, but look, come on, man. It's all day, Bo Nix. It's not remotely close.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. He's playing behind the same offensive line that he had last season. Get this. Each lineman has played over 800 snaps. And this is an offensive line that led the league in pass block win rate, run block win rate, and short yardage conversions in 2024. They allowed just 110 pressures in over 650 snaps. They are very good. And I think because he's consistent, he's facing a struggling Titans pass rush. I like Bo Nix. And if you know anything about me, if I've got anybody out there that's watched any content that I do, I never give a nod of approval to a former Duck. And that's what just happened.
Yeah, that's fair. And by the way, I'm pissed off about your Beavers not winning yesterday. Way to go, Oregon State.
Wow. I mean, could that special teams unit be any more laughable? Like there got to be a point where you're just like, well, let's just take tequila shots because we can't continue to watch this madness. So thanks, Shawn Michael, for your question there. Brad, what else are you looking at in this one?
J.K. Dobbins, I think he's going to find the end zone. I grabbed it at plus 160. Saw a couple of markets. It's down to plus 145. I feel really confident he's going to go for at least 50, 60 on the ground and find the end zone. He's going to work in concert with R.J. Harvey. I'm really plugged into a lot of boots on the ground due to my days living in Denver. I was there for 7 years. I reached out to a couple of guys and asked them, hey, here's my thoughts. Can you confirm or deny what you've been hearing? They're like, yeah, you're right on the right path. So I think Dobbins, 50, 60 yards and a touchdown, entirely doable. Remember, Tennessee allowed 22 touchdowns, 22 folks to the running back position last year.
Yeah, it's a bad defense. Also, we didn't even mention Courtland Sutton yet. He got his second 1,000-yard season last year with Bo Nix as his quarterback. This is interesting. L'Jarius Sneed on defense there for the Titans is on what they're calling a quote-unquote pitch count for the game, so not entirely healthy. So I do think he's going to be pretty productive, and his receiving yards number is pretty low at 57.5. So bang the over there. Would you sit Cam Ward?
Yeah, have to against the most talented secondary in the league with the best DB and Patrick Surtain on roster in your first meaningful game. I've already wagered on Cam Ward on the over a half an interception. I have that parlayed with a couple of things. So yeah, I would bench Ward for sure.
Okay, what about this NFC West matchup between the Niners and the Seahawks? Niners are favored by 1.5. We already talked about McCaffrey. You think the CMC factory is completely open. You're not worried about the fact that he had whatever he was dealing with his calf.
Yeah, is he gonna make you sweat, baby? Yeah, he will, but I think he is gonna play a majority of the snaps today. You're gonna see a little Robinson out there. You might see a Garendo a time or two, but I'm taking the over on 4.5 receptions. I am not hesitating putting him in my starting fantasy lineup as well. I grabbed that at plus money, took advantage of a very soft market. Seattle's gonna have a very subpar defense this year. My friends at Betalytics, Rachel Kryshak, got it projected for just south of 5 receptions in this one, and I think you're gonna see him be the player he was at times 2 years ago, where he ran 21.8 routes per game. He averaged 8.4 yards per reception. He went over the 4.5 catches in a game 10 times, including the playoffs. 80 minimum. He'll find the end zone. Got to catch at least 5 passes. I'm all in on CMC again. Quit freaking out.
I'm the one that's freaking out. I was like, boom, Brian Robinson. Boom him. Because 22 touchdowns in 41 NFL games over the last 3 seasons is nothing to turn your head on. Not to mention Shanahan's got a really friendly running back system. So he's also healthy. It makes me nervous. I don't know. I don't like this one, Brad, whatsoever. But someone does want to know, Golden Goat, are we starting Cup?
Over who?
Well, fair. Okay, thoughts on
there you
Cup
go.
going in this one? That's a very good question. I don't have the follow-up to that. The Golden Goat, maybe you can rewrite in. But what do you think, Brad?
Look, I think he's middling, like WR4 flex guy at most. So let's say you got multiple flexes in a 14-team league that scores handsomely for PPR. That would be the format I'd fire off Cup on. If it's anything shallower and it's like a single flex format or maybe a half-point PPR, firm pass. No, thank you.
Okay, let's talk about Lions-Packers, 2 teams Brad absolutely adores. There's going to be no bias baked into anything that has anything to do with the Packers specifically here in this one, even though they're favored by 1.5. Brad, what are you looking at? We talked about Golden earlier.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a fantasy Fort Knox. So yeah, give me the over on 48.5 receiving yards at a minus 115. I've actually step laddered this as well, DK, in the betting world. So, I've got him played up to 60. I even got a couple of tickets on 70 or more receiving yards. I think that's the ceiling for him is around 75 or so with a touchdown. Again, he's been the healthiest and most consistent option throughout training camp and the exhibition season for the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love is already head over heels for this guy. And again, he can beat you inside, can beat you outside. He's got the versatility and the right route tree. He's got the explosiveness and the juice in the legs. Matthew Golden's going to ball out, folks. I'd be shocked if he didn't because you're going to see a lot of Terry and Arnold in coverage, who is number 114. 114 a pass coverage grade as tracked by PFF last year.
I want to talk about Gibbs for a second because obviously he's going to be a favorite on a lot of people's teams, but for whatever reason, the Packers play really well against him. They game plan against him great. 76 total yards or fewer in both regular season matchups last year. You look at his total yards, is it 96.5? obviously he's going to get a lot of love, but I think this is a player that plays differently against Green Bay. I'm not feeling Gibbs in this one as much as I
Hmm.
typically would lean towards him in a Lions game.
That's what we call hashtag Team Huevos. I would not bet against Jameer Gibbs because he can just beat you if he can't get it done on the ground to get it done through the air. And a guy who was always a threat to find the zone. He's minus 105 on anytime touchdown market. Yeah, of course, your boy fired off on that as well.
I'm sure you did. Okay, about 18 minutes until kickoff here. We're going to continue to roll through some of these questions. Real Gotti, Myers Jennings or Ramondre Stevenson, PPR league.
At PBR, Jacoby Myers. I wrote about him this week as a lead subject on my wide receiver fantasy flames. Go to thegamingjuice.com every week. I got all the free content there if you want to check it out. What kind of narrative is it? Oh, that's right. Revenge game. And he's going to see a lot of Marcus Jones in coverage, who is well outside the top 60 in pass coverage grade, according to PFF. Like Myers a lot this week.
Well, Levi B wants to know Jacoby or DJ Moore. Now answer that without your bias in it.
Yeah, usually I would go with, hey, Mr. DJ, but I ain't gonna party with DJ Moore. I'm going Jacoby Myers, sticking to my guns again. I'm high on him. I'm starting him in a flex in a couple of different leagues. Again, he is going to be motivated not only against his former employer, but money. Remember, he wanted to get dealt after he saw Terry McLaurin and what he got pizzade. He was like, hey, Raiders, pizzade me. And they're like, nah, man, it's too close to the season. And he said, all right, well, then trade me. And they're like, no, we're not going to do that either.
Right.
So he's playing his last year on the contract. A lot of motivations at play. Another reason to love Myers.
There's only 3 games we haven't talked about yet, and as we continue to roll into game time, we should get to them. Rams, Texans. Rams favored by 3, but obviously huge question marks around both quarterbacks. There was a question earlier, not sure where it went, but someone wondered how CJ Stroud would be. Do you play him? Do you take the chance? Do you roll the dice? What do you think?
It depends what the crutch is. What's the quarterback 2 option look like? I think he's a middling at best option here in week 1. The Rams have a very aggressive front line. Jared Verse really gets after the quarterback position, and we know how much of a turnstile that Texans offensive line was last year. Man, I pumped the brakes rather hard on CJ Stroud. So again, it depends what the QB2 option is, but there are not too many guys that I would say, hey, CJ, you get out there over them all day, because I think he is just mediocre at best.
Everybody, just plug your ears slightly. He's going to get really loud when he tells you who he thinks is going to score in this game.
It's just Nick Chubb. I'm not getting loud at all.
He said it so calmly. Who knew?
Oh, but what's that I hear? Oh, the music thumping in the background because the Chubb Club is back, baby. Yeah. I'm going to be doing all kinds of dad moves on the dance floor, because the bottle service is going to be flowing, as I've already said, behind the velvet rope. Look, they failed their health inspection the last couple of years. He had that gruesome knee injury. He had the broken foot. A lot of people reportedly saying, hey, he's lost a step. He doesn't have the explosiveness like he used to. I agree with that. But what I saw in the last preseason game, the dude can still carry other dudes for multiple yards. It takes a zombie horde to contain Nick Chubb. And we got the report from Ian Rappaport just moments ago that he is expected to be the bell cow. His words, not mine, the bell cow. I know the Rams have a top 10 defensive line, but follow the volume. He's going to score plus 175 if he does. I think he's going to contribute 50 to 60 on the ground as well. A lot of flex appeal with Nick Chubb.
Well, M. Dab just wrote in, they're in a sit 1 PPR. And talking about Chubb, Charbonnet, or Josh Palmer, you have to sit
easily Chubb. Chubb is not going to catch a lot of passes. You're lucky he's going to get 1 to 2 in the game.
Who are you sitting in those 3?
Okay. So it's Palmer, Charbonnet, and Chubb.
Yeah.
Probably Palmer. I think Charbonnet is going to get around 35, maybe as much as 40% of the opportunity share based on some of the rumblings we've been hearing. Again, complete guesswork, in the San Francisco defense, I think it's going to be subpar. Palmer is a big play only receiver, and that is one of the best secondaries in the league in the Baltimore Ravens he's going against.
Oh, let's talk about the Ravens Bills, shall we? Ravens favored by just point in this one. I think Derrick Henry's going to have a really big game because the Ravens ran all over the Bills last season. He had over 199 yards on the ground and took that opening play. Remember, 87 yards to the house, averaged over 100 rushing yards per game. And actually, he's gone over 80 and a half rushing yards in each of his games against the Bills, which is actually what his prop is set at. So I just think that their offense is a complete mismatch for the Bills defense. So give me everything Derrick Henry related. What about you?
Yeah, Seahawks Mashal with the football Frankenstein, right? Give me James Cook, the Wolfgang Puck, the bear, and chef of running backs in the NFL. Like, he scored 18 times last year. I think he's going to score again. 80-time touchdown market. Why is it plus 105? I have no flipping idea. That seems like a gift from the gambling gods. Somebody can absolutely plug and play. He got paid about a month ago the $30 million guaranteed in that extension. I know the Ravens are probably going to have at least a top 10, if not top 5 defensive line, but in a game in which points are going to be plentiful, I think James Cook punches one in with around 55 to 65 combined yards as well.
Well, you said yes, chef. So let's get to your Chicago Bears, shall we? Playing the Vikings. Everybody, this is where the bias is so baked in. Brad, who are you looking at? What's going to happen in this one? Tell us about this Monday Night Football matchup.
Bears! Chicago Bears! Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But I'm actually playing Jordan Mason anytime touchdown. Yeah, dead serious.
That's just insane.
Look, one of my phrases that I love using, whether on radio and television, all the spots that I do, is when you see an attractive line, what do? You roll the shoulders because you get seduced by the juice. That's exactly what happened with Jordan Mason, a plus 155 anytime touchdown market. He is going to be the preeminent goal line gremlin on this offense. Not going to be Aaron Jones. It's going to come at his expense. The Bears already have some injuries on that defense. I think the weakness defensively is not on the back end. It's going to be primarily the defensive line. And you're running behind a top 10 offensive line of the Minnesota Vikings. I think this game's going to finish comfortably somewhere in the 20s. So I think Jordan Mason crosses the chalk. I would play him as a flex. I would entertain him in challenging leagues as my RB2. I think it's like 60, 65 on the ground and that end zone splash. So plus 155, again, seduced by the juice, DK.
No, I think that's called reverse psychology if I've ever heard it. Okay, we've got a couple more questions here, just rapid fire because we got to get going.
Yes.
10 minutes until kickoff. Angela Murillo, Loveland, Ertz, or Pitts? Who would you start?
Loveland, Ertz, or Pitts? Pitts, no. Ertz, no. Loveland.
By form of elimination there. Tibbs,
yes.
2205, Pollard or Henderson at your RB2 slot?
I'm going to go with Pollard. Now, I hate the matchup, but man, that volume is going to be cranked with no Tyjae Spears.
And Devin Karp, Ricky Pearsall, or RJ Harvey?
Ricky Pearsall. Look, I know there's been a lot of reports about his inconsistency. He may not be as big of a breakout than some people say, but he's got a ripe opportunity in this game.
Well, hopefully you guys got all your questions in. You're ready for your sit start of your fantasy week. We will be here every single Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern before kickoff happens. Continue to take your questions. We'll always go through every single game on the slate. I'm Danny Kleppinger. That's Brad Evans. Everybody grab a cocktail and enjoy your Sunday.
Good luck.